Hello, welcome back to the Rise Up Live Free podcast. I have a very special guest this week, a member of the Rise Up Mastermind, one of the leaders. Didn't you pretty much do a clean sweep of all the awards at the annual event, Luke?
I did. Yeah. I was very humbled by it, but yeah, I did.
So those of you in the community, everybody knows Luke, but for those of you who are not in the mastermind, Luke Nestler, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, man, happy to be here. I appreciate you having me on. You guys have done a lot for my life. I could say my career, but genuinely what I've learned from you and the community members has changed my life. Yeah, my name is Luke Nestler. I'm from Morgantown, West Virginia on the East Coast, just outside of Pittsburgh. I've been in real estate for about 3 years now. And yeah, what Jimmy has done and the community he's built has changed the trajectory of my life. We're doing some pretty exciting stuff in the real estate space now.
Oh, well, Luke, thanks for those kind words, but I don't think we did much. Maybe we greased the skids a little bit for you, but
For sure.
I'd say you're a one-man wrecking machine. You want to kind of tell the audience kind of your journey from real estate, and we'll get into kind of the funnier parts of the story
Yeah,
as we go along.
yeah, for sure. So, um, end of 2020, going into 2021, I believe. I got my first two properties. I went to the Rise Up Live event that you guys had at the Montage in Park City, and I left there super frustrated with myself that I hadn't purchased a single piece of property yet. And I watched all these people stand on stage, and I was like, man, I would love to do enough activity to where I'm warranted to be up there with those people next year. So I kind of went on a
And had you done a
rampage.
deal at that point yet?
I had not done a deal at that point. So that event was in what is it? They're always in October, right?
Yeah, so that would have been October of 20,
Yeah. So
21.
December, no, 21. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
October of 20, I hadn't done a deal. I closed on my first deal in December. I closed on my second one in February, and I was happy about it, but there was something that was missing. I tend to like to go fast, which I think you'll probably tell a funny story about that here in a little bit. And my third through 12th deal all happened in a matter of 3 months. So I went from two deals in February. I didn't do another deal until August of 22, and I went from two doors to 10 doors in a very very short amount of time, just from applying what you guys teach, but then also learning creative ways to get into deals. I wanted to go faster than the money, the liquidity that I had allowed, so I had to learn how to do creative finance, raise private money, and kind of took off from there. And then the year following, I went from 10 doors to 41 doors. And
Nice.
now we're knocking on, it's kind of crazy to say this, but we're knocking on 100 doors, I would say, by the end of the next 12, maybe 18 months.
And so 2 to 12, was that a multifamily or that was a single family?
It was a mixture. So the first two that I had were turnkey style properties, and then the next several were it was a sixplex, so 6 unit apartment building, and then some singles in there, and then it's pretty much just been multifamily throughout.
Gotcha. So let's back up a second. What were you um before you found cash flow tactics? What were you doing? Did you have any real estate experience? What was that? What was going on?
Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur. I've never worked for anybody my entire life. I started an ad agency that I still own to this day with my business partner, and we started that. I started working for myself in 2012. The ad agency started up in 2013, and I found Grant Cardone, who a lot of people hate. I still admire him very much so in various ways, and there's some things that I stay away from. But the one thing I picked up from him
I don't
was
know. Let's talk about Grant Cardone. I understand why he generates
oh,
so much ill feelings.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I don't agree with it.
No, he knows what he's doing. And
Yeah.
I started my business partner and I started following him when nobody really knew who he was. Like I'm talking like we got one-on-one. I smoked cigars with him and his wife Elena at an event at in Cancun, Mexico that there was like 25 of us at. And it didn't cost that much to go to. Today, if you did that,
Was it his mastermind?
it was his mastermind. It was before he started doing
Yeah.
the whole 10x growth con thing. If you did something like that today with him, you're spending $100,000, no doubt. So,
Yeah,
but
and he's generating a lot of flack just because of his how do you say it? Meteoric rise.
yeah, for sure. And so I started to watch him talk about this whole real estate thing when he first started to make it kind of public that he was doing this, and it just intrigued me. So I think I made the mistake that I think a lot of people make for probably 6 or 7 years. I just consumed and like tried to figure out what I'm going to do, and then I realized there's so many aspects of real estate that I found myself for the first time ever. I'm not the person that is tries to learn everything before they get started, but that's what I was doing in this case. So for 6 or 7 years, I kept figuring out what I was going to do, but I never took any action. And a friend of mine that was go ahead.
Why? I don't get it. Like, obviously in marketing, you weren't like that.
I've never been like that with anything.
Yeah. Why do you think you were like that?
I think I was scared because I think I looked at it as it was almost like you're putting all the chips on red or black, and you needed to make sure that you knew the best odds of which one it was going to hit. And so I thought that, it's this big play that if I make one mistake getting into this game, I'm gonna fail. And I think part of that came from watching Grant talk about you have to start with 30 doors or 40 doors. So I looked at it as, well, to get in this game, it's either going to work or I'm going to lose everything. So I just didn't do anything. And a friend of mine that I met at a Cardone event a long time ago, Jason Rash, who knew nothing about real estate, all of a sudden starts buying all these properties. I'm like, what is this guy? So I call him like, Jason, I know you knew nothing about real estate 12 months ago, and now you own like 13 properties. What's going on? And he told me about you guys. So I looked at you as that thing that I was like, I just need to stay focused on this strategy and just get in the game. And that's what I did. So once I got in the game and I learned enough, then I started to expand what I was doing to seller finance, raising private money, so on and so forth.
And so we're going to kind of bounce around a lot on that on this podcast, but in general, I get a new person in the group and they buy one turnkey and they want to know what's going on coming down the road in like 10 years, right? And then I think real estate is just our turnkey is that great first, I don't love this reference, but like gateway drug.
Mm-hmm.
Get you started, right? And then, so I'm assuming do you still own your turnkeys?
I do. I've never seen them. They're in Dayton, Ohio. And yeah, still own them.
And so you do one turnkey, you get the itch a little louder. You do two turnkeys, and then is this the point where you and me started talking where you're like, I want to do this active?
Yeah. Yep. So then I picked up a burr, and that was after the conversation that you and I had about, did I really want to do this or not?
This is one of my favorite all-time cash flow tactics conversations. So should we kind of recount it for the audience?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll give you my version. You give everybody your version. But you call me up and you're like, hey, Jimmy, I want to start doing this full time. And I'm like, no, you don't. And then you're like, yeah, I do. And I think we went 5 or 6 times. I was like, no, you don't. Like,
yeah, you tested me. You really, I mean, because I'm sure a lot of people have probably told you that, and they actually didn't want to do what it takes to do this full time. So yeah, it was 2 or 3 times that I don't think you tried to, you didn't want to take me serious until I really kept coming back and bugging the daylights out of you that like, dude, I'm serious, man. Like, I really want to do this full time.
Well, intuitively, I wanted to see if you could take a punch.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to box until they take a punch. Everybody wants to do jujitsu till, they get choked out.
Yeah.
And so here's what I've always wanted for you. You got your own business. You're a successful guy. You just started a family. It's like, why?
Yeah. That
why,
was why.
why did you make the jump to go active?
Yeah, that was why. Like, I'm proud of the business that we've built here, but at the same time, in the advertising space, but I know it's not going to be what I retire doing this and then socking away money in a 401k and hoping I have enough to live. Like, I know the lifestyle that I want to live, and I'm proud of the business that I built for the previous 12 years, but I also know where I'm wanting to go. The vehicle to get me there looks different than what I'd been previously doing. It doesn't mean that that thing's not there anymore, but it means, like, the main thing, what got me here is not going to be what gets me there. And I wasn't just looking at real estate as like this thing that's going to get me wealthy, and it is becoming that. But I genuinely have this fascination with it. Like, I love everything from point A to, step 1 to 20 of what we're doing, from negotiating a deal, closing a deal, renovating a deal, putting tenants in it. I like going to court when somebody doesn't want to pay me rent. And like, I just,
Dude, are you still doing that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. You got to
Yeah.
hire somebody.
Yeah. I will, but I'm learning every step in the process. And I genuinely enjoy every aspect, of it.
So and then that's kind of a qualifier for me. Like, some people do love this. Like, I love it. Like, I'll still go on a seller appointment and get the contract, and it's like, I'm still as excited as the first contract I ever got.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there's a sickness. Like, we have a system that we check the MLS with every day, and it takes me like 20 minutes. But every time I get a yes on a contract, I still enjoy it. So qualifier wise is, hey, if you kind of want to do this active, I think there has to be an aspect of you intuitively enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, in at least a part of the process. Like, I mean, maybe you like closing deals, and there's a lot of deals to be closed in the real estate space, or, like my wife enjoys, having a say in how we make these units look and whatnot. So, I mean, but I enjoy all aspects of it, and I enjoy the team building. Like, I'm at the point now to where we're building. I have more people that work for me on the real estate side now than I do on the advertising agency side, and I enjoy building the teams and learning and trying to scale it out. So I enjoy every ounce of it, from the first to the end step.
Oh, yeah, nice. Okay. So you got your 2 turnkeys. Talk to me about that first multi. How'd you do it? What'd you do to get there? How'd you have the courage to take the leap?
I was terrified, but it fell in my lap. And I was a friend of mine, a mentor of mine, who just started working with me on learning seller finance. His name was Mike Tremaney. He goes by Cash Money Mike, and he started. I was meeting with him and working with him on learning and putting another tool in my tool belt on how to buy on seller finance. And I've always promoted myself just because I own a digital ad agency. I understand the importance of it. So I really, from day one of joining CFT, day one of deciding I'm in CFT, I'm going to start taking action and buying real estate, I started documenting that, like on Instagram, like, hey, I'm going to start buying real estate. I'm going to show you the ins and the outs of like the mistakes that I make. So I started documenting that, and this was, I don't know, 6 or 7 months into that journey. I got a call from somebody that I went to high school with their son. I haven't talked to their son in 15 years. And they had these 2 properties awarded to them in a divorce, and they needed to get rid of them, and they wanted to sell them, and they didn't know what they were worth. They didn't know how to sell them, if they could sell them, whatever it was. I was like, yeah, I'll go take a look at it. Well, it was a single family home, which was no big deal. And then it was a 6-unit apartment building, which I owned 2 properties up to that point. I was getting ready to close on my 3rd. And that was at the beginning.
And this is strictly you just randomly putting stuff out on Facebook and Instagram?
Yep. Just consistently putting my journey out. I get a call it was like 8:00 at night. And then the next day I was looking at this piece of property. 15 days later, I closed on this thing.
So I think most people get discouraged in posting because they think it's useless. And do you just think, since you own a digital marketing agency, you understand the power of it?
Yeah, I think that's where it comes from, and then I've seen it over time, and I think people think it's useless because they're looking for immediate results and immediate gratification, and it's something to where it's like a massive tree, and you've got a little axe and you're chipping away at it, and eventually things pop up from it. Like, we're recording this in January. I've had 7 meetings with people wanting to invest in our deals in the past week and a half from them seeing my content, from people from New York that I'd never heard of before, that somebody that follows me sent my video to them. Like, it doesn't happen overnight, especially when you've never done it. But when you do it consistently enough, like some of the other people in the community are, it starts to add up and it makes a big difference.
Yeah, like, I mean, part of when I teach people to raise private money, like one of my things is you have to post, you have to post every day. You have to choose. I had a marketing coach who said, pick a medium, post every day for a year and see what happens. And you and me are on the same similar type journey. I did it for a year. End of the year, I had $5 million. And it's
Yeah.
just, but like the first video, I wasn't like Gary V.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
Right.
it's amazing how, and I even feel silly telling people to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I used to
How
try
should
to cut.
people, yeah, how should people, including myself, get over the internal feeling of the silliness?
Man, for 10 years, I coached real estate agents on how to use social media to promote their business. And I would watch these old, decrepit women, and sometimes men come to my speaking engagements across the country to talk about social media. And I would follow a lot of them, and they would never do it except 1 or 2 people. I've gotten to the point to where I think as many people always ask how to use it because they want the result. But I think out of 100 people that ask, there's 1 person that actually has the DNA that's wired in them to actually do it. Brian Waters is a great example. Like, you could have everybody in CFT, but Brian's the guy that actually did it. And it's not because he was taught the right way. He just doesn't care what people think about how he looks, how he sounds, if he looks silly on camera. I just think it's a natural thing, and not a talent. It's just, I don't care what people think about me. So I just post, and I don't think everybody has that, and that's fine. There's probably other ways to do it, but I think what we're talking about is the most powerful way.
Okay. So, sorry, this is how I kind of usually run
Hey
podcasts,
man,
like
it's all good. I know how you roll.
constant interrupting, constant.
It's all good.
All right. So you post like 50 times and a deal falls in your lap. And so a
Yeah.
lot of people with a deal falling in their lap would have been like, uh-oh, what do I do with it? So what did you do next?
I leveraged what I had learned in a very short amount of time on seller finance. And I had a conversation with my dad. I was like, Dad, this thing's 6 units, which now is super small. But then I was like, this is 6 units. I own 2 houses. Like, I don't know if I can do this. And he's like, what do you have to lose? He was like, just try it. And I mean, people throw around like, oh, that was life changing. That deal genuinely changed my life. Like, more than I can explain. So I took it down via seller finance, on just
And then how
ludicrous
most
seller
people
finance.
most people would stop at like, oh, I don't have the paperwork. I don't know how to do seller finance.
Yeah.
How'd you get through that thought in your head?
I had a mentor that was helping me a little bit with it, and I just asked a lot of questions. And if you don't have a mentor, I mean, all those same questions that I asked this guy can be found on the internet. I mean, this guy, it's out there. So, I learned just enough to stay like 2 steps ahead of the seller. And then I pieced together an insane 15-year deal, 0% interest. It worked out well for them. They got more than what the property was worth, and I got a really, really good deal. And now that property I bought it for close to $500. I'm sorry, $500,000, and that property is worth a little over $1 million
Nice.
today.
How much you
So
put into it?
we've put probably 35, 40 grand into it. So not a ton. It's 6 units. And honestly,
Yeah.
most of that is from furnishing units, which is a whole nother story. It's not like it needed a tremendous amount of work. It was in great shape, but we furnished the units. We started renting out to travel nurses. So we took a unit from the previous owners, had vacancies, and the ones that they were getting rent were getting like $850 a month. long-term rent, we'll get 1,500 a month out of those units now. For travel nurses, we'll get 2,000 to 2,300 a month out of them. So it genuinely was a game changer.
Nice. And then you presented at 2022, the annual event, the ridiculous terms you negotiated. So that was,
Yeah.
okay. So what part of the journey was it you were calling me like, hey, Jimmy, I got to do X, Y, and Z and steps 8, 9, and 10. And then I saw this on YouTube, and then I would be like, do steps 1 and 2, and then call me back. Like, what part?
Yeah.
Those were fun calls. I kind of felt like I felt a little mean, but I'm just like, this guy, he's like 8, 9, 10, 11. We got to knock out 1 and 2 right now.
Yeah, no, the reason I gravitated towards you the most, I think, in the group was because your like business acumen and personality is very similar to mine. Like I've never heard the phrase before, but you describe yourself as you're ready, fire, aim. And I'm very much like, just give me enough to get going and then I'll figure the rest out. So that was my version of doing that. It was around that same time. It might have actually even been a little bit before or during and a little bit after, but I was looking for as many ways to be successful in the space as I could. I thought I was trying to stay focused, but what I realized from your conversations and like telling me, nope, do this, and then you would hang up, was I had lost track of the thing I was supposed to be focusing on that you told me last time. And I started to like kind of veer over here and ask questions. And you're like, nope, get back on track and stay there. And I eventually learned that. And, when I applied that like relentless focus to that one thing, then it started to take off.
Those were fun calls.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you knock out a single family and a 10 unit. So you're up to 12, right?
It was, so at that point I owned 2 turnkeys plus a BRRRR plus a sixplex. I was at 10. So then plus a single family. So at that second event, so the year after the event, 1 year from the event that I left and said, man, I want to be on stage, I went from 0 to the next event in Lehigh. I hit the right on the dot. I was at 10 properties or 10 doors.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you gave a main stage presentation on the owner finance deal. And so then what bumped you up over was it one deal that got you to 30?
No. So then I was like, I wasn't afraid of multifamily, and I started posting like crazy. If you know of anybody who wants to sell their property, let me know. And this lady that manages an apartment complex for this guy that lived out of state said, hey, we've got 13 units. Are you interested? And I said, yeah. And long story short, that was the next deal that we took down, and I closed on those 13 units in the lobby of the hospital the day after my son was born.
Nice.
Yeah.
But once again, from a social media post.
Yep. Every deal I've gotten, other than those 2 turnkeys, because I used a provider in a different state to find those for me. Other than those 2 turnkeys, every dollar I've raised and every property I've gotten have come from my social media presence. All my partners on the real estate, everything I've done, my contractors that I use, everything has come from social media.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It works. It works.
Yeah. Okay. So what happened next?
So I think, man, it's just kind of rinse and repeat, but just like really gaining more confidence in what I was doing. So those 13 units I felt like I went to grad school on property management. I'm the guy that can't hang a picture on the wall. Well, then I'm doing $15,000 renovations, and that's per unit, 15 to 20 grand per unit. And there's 13 of them. And well, one, I guess.
And you're using private money for the renovation.
No, so
right?
that there was some bank finance component to that. So I guess taking a step back, there was a gentleman I was partnered with at the time that was supposed to. He was out of state. He was going to be the money guy. He's like, hey man, I can find the money, no problem. You just bring deals, and you'll be the operator. So we get the 13 unit that I'm talking about under contract, and 60 days from closing, all of a sudden it flips on me that I need to raise the money because he hasn't been able to find any. So long story short,
wah, wah.
yeah.
That's
So
what
I'd never raised a dollar. So long story short, I come up with this plan of, okay, this thing's
Oh,
going to
can I just
Yeah.
interject? If anybody's thinking about doing what Luke does, like always be the money guy.
Yeah.
Never ever trust would you agree with this? Never ever trust
Yeah.
anybody else to be the money guy for your deal.
Correct. And I'm super happy that that happened because now I'm so confident in the amount of money that I can raise in a short amount of time because of that. I
And
had to raise.
you have a lot of skill sets. What is your most valuable skill set right now?
Oh man. I mean, probably my ability to just talk and put myself out there. Like my marketing skill set is probably my most valuable skill set.
I think marketing to raise money is your most
Yeah.
valuable skill
Yes,
set.
exactly. That's what I'm getting at is that's what allows me to raise the money.
Like anybody out there who wants to scale, wholesalers, fix and flippers, long-term, Berkey, buy and hold people, like if you want to scale this and do this in an active or semi-active manner, you have to be able to raise private money. Yes or no? In your experience, yes or no? Luke?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I got put in this weird spot to where like I was going to lose this deal that I thought the 6 unit changed my life. Like, what could this 13 unit do for my family? And I was like, I'm going to lose this deal because this guy wasn't able to pull the weight that he said he was going to pull. So I talked to the seller and said, look, man, we're not going to close on this thing, but if you give me another 15 days, I'll be able to make it happen, but I need to put it back under contract. Can you commit to me that you'll give me that time? And he said, yeah. So I literally like went like a madman and raised, I didn't raise it all, but I raised enough to be able to get bank financing. So I raised all of the down payment and then some, and got the rest bank financed on a interest only note for 12 months with a construction line of credit. And it enabled us to get in the deal. And that gave me, I raised, close to $1 million in like 6 weeks, and I'd never raised any money before. So that gave me a mass amount of confidence. So that was a learning
It's
experience.
amazing what you can do when your back's against the wall, right?
Yeah, man, that's probably the thing I'm most proud of is how I pulled that off because I would have lost that opportunity and I would have gotten other deals, but like the confidence that I gained from that is what gave me the confidence to now I own these 13 units. My partner is a surgeon who knows nothing about real estate. He was just the money guy. So I've got to make sure that I pull this off. How do I quote what a renovation is going to be? How do I make sure I don't get taken advantage of? And then fast forward, now I've got a construction crew that works for me 40 hours a week. I know exactly what it's going to cost and what my SKU list is to renovate 1,000 square foot, 2-bed, 2-bath. It's been less than a year. That was in May of 2023 that we closed on that 13 unit. We've totally turned it. Almost doubled the rents, or we had more than doubled the rents on it. And, it's been an insane 12 months of just not even 12 months of just learning.
Awesome, man. So then what happened next?
Yeah, so once we got, I had not stopped looking for properties. I wanted more multifamily and I was like, I know I can raise more money. So kind of went on the hunt, about 5 months ago and, we ended up getting under contract and taking down an 18 unit, that is right next or close to the one that we had before. And I was able to leverage a combination
Was
of all the
that
things.
social media lead too?
Yes, that was another social media one as well.
Nice.
Somebody that knew somebody that contacted the guy and he was willing, but he wanted, it's hard to explain it, but it is in the most prime piece of it's the most prime piece of real estate in this town. It's literally the closest piece of property to a massive hospital, which is where all of our tenants come from. And they know what they have. However, they haven't managed it the right way and it's underperforming. And obviously with multifamily, a property is valued on the rental income that it generates. So this thing was generating enough to be valued at about 1.6 million, but they knew that it was quote unquote worth more than that. So they wanted 2.5. So they wanted essentially $1 million more than what it was worth. I knew that I could get the rents to where it actually would be worth close to 3 million, if not a little bit more. So I structured a deal to where I gave them their 2.5. So I'm paying them $1 million more than what the property is worth as it sat, but they are seller financing $1 million of it. And
Yeah,
then we
so you didn't give them, there was no cash transaction. You let them finance it.
they're financing $1 million of the 2.5. So
Yeah,
then the bank is financing a piece, and then we raised private money for the down payment on the bank portion of it.
awesome.
Yeah. And that a partner of mine in that is a notable real estate person in this market. I mean, he's done thousands of transactions. And he said that is the most creative deal I've ever seen, just how we had it structured and the terms of the note and everything like that, which made me feel good because I mean, I'm proud of what I've done, but I'm super humble about like I have a lot to learn. And the reason I partnered with this guy is because he knows so much more than me. So for him to say it's the most creative deal he's ever seen was that was pretty cool. So I was excited to
Yeah.
get that deal.
And listen to the story, Luke. Here's what I'm also noticing. Like, you're not greedy. You basically, you want to get into the deal, but like a big part of your payoff, because you've been into this for 3 years, is the learning experience.
Yeah.
So it's like, what would you advise somebody if they're new and they're trying to squeeze every piece of blood out of the turnip?
Yeah, I think don't cost yourself opportunity because you want to be greedy. Like there's a lot of people in the guy that was going to be my partner on that last deal we were talking about, he didn't want to give up equity. He just wanted people to be lenders on the deal. And I was like, look, man, like I'm not going to miss this opportunity because I want to get greedy and own 100% of this thing. Like I'm fully of the mindset that if I can help somebody else win and meet their goals and it's helping pull, like I can pull them along and it's helping me do the same thing, like I'll give up, within reason, I'm more than happy to share in the pie. I don't need the whole thing. We can all win together. So I think that's a big mistake a lot of people make is they don't want to give up anything. And at a certain point, and I'm still in that point, you can't be afraid to give up a piece of the pie to get where you want to go.
Well, and then especially like if I'm learning something new, I will give up a lot of the pie
Yeah.
just for the experience. Because I mean, look at your story. Two turnkeys, and then you jump into something else, which leads to more experience. Like, what happened if you'd been grinding down the turnkey provider for like the best, best whatever? The snowball wouldn't have started to start rolling.
Right. Yeah, I agree. 100%.
So here's how my thinking's kind of changed in the last. Actually, let's go here next. So some people listening to this podcast might be like, wait a minute, why is a single family and then a multifamily guy kind of talking? And like the way I look at it is like you get rich in your niche. Like I found my niche, you found your niche, but we pretty much operate on the same principles.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, there's so much stuff that happens in a day that in the multifamily world that I'm in that I apply principles that I learned from what you guys teach on to more of a single family audience. And yeah, there's some things that are different about it, but a lot of my decision making criteria, as you put it, is based off of kind of the principles that I learned from your community, which is why I've been in it when I only bought 2 singles and then I jumped to the multifamily space. Like most people be like, why are you still in the single family mastermind? Like, well, because there's a ton to be learned from that. And the people that are in there as well.
And like for me, it's like whatever your decision-making criteria is, it is. But the principles to then execute on your decision-making criteria are the same.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
And so the other way kind of my thinking's evolved, I've been chewing on this a lot the last 6 months. I just want to get your thoughts on it. But part of the reason you were able to start acquiring assets and acquiring debt is because you did have that cash machine of the marketing business.
Right. Yeah.
And so, and then here's what I know about everyone's cash machine. No one is happy with their cash machine.
Including
to include me, you, Bill Gates. Like my favorite My favorite rich guy story is John D. Rockefeller. They're like, when will it be enough? And he's just like, I wake up every morning thinking one more dollar. So the wealthiest man on earth had a problem with his cash machine. So if you have a problem with your cash machine, and by the way, definition of a cash machine is a business you own or a W-2 or 1099 employment you have that allows you to save 10 to 20% of your income and live comfortably. And it's like, if you don't have a cash machine, you should probably be wholesaling, generating cash some way, somehow. If you do have a cash machine, then it's cool to start acquiring assets and acquiring debt.
Right.
So do you have any thoughts on the whole? And I don't think it's out there in the real estate world, the cash machine differentiation.
Yeah, I mean, so that was an area that you helped me a lot, because I was of the mindset that I'm just going to buy a bunch of this real estate and then be able to live off of it. And like, I mean, I say this all the time, not to brag, because I've realized once I've gotten here that it's not very much. I own like $4 million worth of real estate. And if I quit my cash machine right now, could I survive? Yes, but we would have to change our lifestyle. When I got started, I'm like, man, if I just own a 6 unit, I'm going to be set for life. So I learned that the cash machine.
By the way, I don't think you're wrong. I think over the course of 10 to 20 years,
for sure, yeah,
you'd be crushing it.
Yes.
But
not right now.
You're like John D. Rockefeller. You want a bigger cash machine.
Yeah. So the reason I started buying real estate was because I wasn't happy with my cash machine. And honestly, like, I wanted to make a change. Well, then I realized, you had said it. You're like, dude, you're real estate rich and cash poor if you leave where you're at. So the past 12 months, in addition to buying all this real estate for the buy and hold, has also been developing that active income cash machine, fast money arm of the business, which is wholesaling, fixing and flipping, those types of things as well. Because if you don't have a cash machine, like, you're not going to be buying real estate. Even if you buy it creatively with little of your own money, like I am, you're not going to be able to survive without making sacrifices in the immediate future.
Well, you just put yourself in too dangerous a position.
Yeah. And you're not going to be, for the people that use bank financing, you're not going to be bankable if you don't have that cash machine.
And I learned it the hard way from Jason Medley. I rolled into Collective Genius with 120 rentals, and he's like, "What do you do, dude?" And I was like, "I have 120 doors." And he's like, "No, what do you do, dude? Like, what do you do for active income?"
Yeah.
It's like passive income comes after hyperactive active income.
Yeah. That's what's cool about those communities with other people that are doing it at a high level, because you're like, all right, man, I've got it going on. And then you get into the room of other people that also have it going on, because local people that don't really understand it see what I'm doing, and there's so many misconceptions. Like, I've had people ask me when I'm buying a plane, like all this stuff that I'm like, yeah, you really don't understand that it's not what Instagram makes it look. And I'm not saying my Instagram, I'm saying what the gurus put out there. But when you get in a room like that of people that have also done it,
like, dude, I'm not posting my worst day on Instagram. I'm only posting the highlights. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And I think it's fine to look at social media as long as you understand that, right?
Right. Yep.
So and I don't think it's out there in the real estate space. It's like, hey, buy some rentals, quit your job. And it's like, no, buy some rentals, build some wealth.
Yep.
What you're doing with the multifamilies, I'd argue you're going to be generating intergenerational wealth just from, and I know you just had a kid, so I know it's very important to you.
Yeah, that's what I've realized in the last 4 months, that what I'm trying to do, or what I'm doing in the multifamily space as aggressively as I'm doing it, is pretty uncommon. I mean, we're looking at a property right now. I can't give like specifics on it, but it's over 40 units. It's a 2.5, 2.8, somewhere in there, $1 million property, but the rents are so low that I could go in and it'll take 24 to 36 months, but I can make that $2 million property worth $4 million in 3 years. And it's not like I think I can do this. I've done it on 2 other properties. It's just that one's even bigger as far as unit count. And I'm getting into these things with little to no of zero of my own money. So I know I'm not the only guy to ever do it, but I'm trying to do something that's pretty uncommon. So, just going to keep following that trajectory and that path. And I think when I look back in 5 or 6 years, um, it's going to be a totally different ball game.
Awesome. So if you were talking to somebody who's new and getting into this game, like what would be your advice to them? Whether they want to go full-time active like you have, whether they be semi-active, what would you say? Or just passive, what would you say to them?
So I would say that you can do any of those things. So if you hear what I'm saying and you're that person that doesn't want to be super active and that's intimidating you, what I'm saying, you can be extremely passive and work with Jimmy and never lift a finger. But I'm also saying if you're that person that was like me 5 years ago and you want to own 100 doors and you're like, I don't know how to get started. You also, in a very short amount of time, can do what I've done. I'm not rich. I didn't get what I have because I've got hundreds of millions of dollars in a bank account from my daddy that left me money or some crazy thing like that. I just took action. You just have to get started.
But you did have a cash machine.
I did have a cash machine, and I picked one thing and I stayed focused on that one thing, which ended up not being the thing that I did long term, which was buy single family homes via turnkey. But that was the thing that I focused on to get in the game. Like that would be my main piece of advice is just get started. Like you can't listen to Bigger Pockets and one day be like, I'm going to do Airbnb, then trailer parks, and then fix and flip, and then wholesale. You're never going to get started. Pick the one thing. And I think what you have is a super incredible opportunity for that to be that one thing and to learn, but just get in the game and then decide if you like that or if you want to make a shift in your game plan. But you're not going to do anything if you don't get started.
That is sound advice. So we're kind of at the 45-minute mark. Luke, is there I just want to say thanks for coming on the podcast. Thanks for how you've acted as a mentor to other people in the community and as like a 4-minute mile pace setter for people. I think that's been awesome. So it's been, having you in the community is absolutely phenomenal. Anything else you kind of want to let people know?
Man, no, I appreciate you being let me be part of it. And yeah, man, I love the community. It's one of my favorite things about what I get to do in real estate. So no, I mean, I'd love, people want to follow me online. It's on Instagram is definitely the best place. It's Luke Nesler. It's Nesler. And I'm super active on there. There's links in my Instagram bio about how people can, follow me or work with me on what I'm doing. And yeah, man, I like sharing what I'm doing from the standpoint of I wish that somebody had put the content that I'm putting out when they first got started. And literally, if you go back to my Instagram bio in November of 2021, you literally can follow from the first video where I said, hey, I'm going to start buying real estate to now we're looking at, close to 90 doors. So it's
awesome,
all
bro. Well, I'm happy. I'm happy for your real estate success. One more question. As you've gotten better at this real estate game, have you gotten better at your regular or your initial cash machine, your initial business?
You know what, man? It's funny.
I don't mean to say regular. Sorry, I misspoke.
Yeah, no. The original business, the ad agency, we've implemented marketing systems and processes, product development, accounting systems and processes, literally all stuff that I've learned from real estate. My partner in that business, I don't think understands that, but how we've revamped our entire accounting SOP is literally from takeaways that I've learned in the real estate community. So yeah, I mean, it's made me better all around.
So I'm trying to figure out a word for this or a phrase for this, but I call it the passive income paradox. But for whatever reason, and I experienced this in corporate, but the more assets I acquired and the more passive income I got, the better I got at my active income. And then the active income gave me more cash from a cash machine, which allowed me to invest more, which made me better at my active income. Like, I don't, any idea why that happens, Luke? I have just seen it throughout the community.
I just think it's it's like the transfer of power. I like you're taking action and you're learning, and it's going to be applicable in more than just that immediate area. Like I've learned stuff that helps my relationship. Um, it's you're taking more action, and as a byproduct, the things immediately around you are going to benefit from that. So I mean, I think that's what it's from.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense. You're learning new skill sets. You're becoming more valuable. Dollars follow value. It's kind of a positive feedback mechanism.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So, well, I think that's a good place to stop with the podcast. Thank you again for coming on, and thanks again. And congratulations on all your success, dude. Very happy for you.
Man, thank you for having me, and seriously, like I mean it. You're one of the top 3 people up there as far as mentors, and now someone I get to call friend. So I appreciate everything you've done for me and that you're doing for the rest of the people in Rise Up.
Awesome, man. Well, to the Rise Up audience, we will talk to you later. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast.